Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, and welcome back to another crypto video. Today has actually been quite a bearish day in terms of news, as some new stuff came out about MtGox that may release 150,000 Bitcoin into the markets, and a lot of people have been very bearish about this. However, let me tell you guys today that this is not a problem. We're still looking good. Everything will be fine. At least, that's what it's looking like. So guys, make sure you press the like button, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you comment something down below, as that's all you need to do to enter into our 250 XRP giveaway that we give away whenever we hit 1,500 likes within 24 hours. So yeah, pretty bad. As I've said before, you can see prices are dumping and people are generally kind of negative about the situation. However, we've seen these statements come out before, and generally things like this don't really matter too much to crypto, as it's old money that may have been sold. However, the markets are prepared for stuff like this. So theoretically, what should happen is all this money right now, right, that may come in on December 15th, possibly once more, is 150,000 Bitcoin. They could, theoretically speaking, be sold instantly. However, as we know, most will most likely not do that. And also the idea is that people right now are already anticipating for it. Then once it comes, not that much will actually change because it's mostly about the anticipation. And then after that, prices can just continue upwards. And basically, worst case scenario is that we just have a useful and normal correction happening right now before we actually move further upwards, unless this had already meant the end of the bull run. But I don't think any MtGox release, which has happened multiple times now already, would actually let the price go down. I don't actually think that that would be the case. So personally, not on that end. And I've said before, guys, that I think this bull run is right on at the start. And I also got another article here. Bitcoin looks similar to how it did in late 2016, which, if you guys remember, was actually before, or the year before, the big bull run started, which is what a lot of people are thinking right now, that the peak of the bull run will be somewhere at the end of 2021, with Bitcoin being huge. We've talked about that before. Some even saying it's going to be the beginning of 2022. However, all of that points towards the idea that we may be going down a little bit again, maybe towards 16,000 or so, before actually getting more and more gains, which, again, remind yourself, is not a bad thing. Bitcoin has undergone an extremely strong rally since the March lows, rallying from 3,500 to 19,000 now. Analysts are hopeful that further growth is on the horizon, and one top Bitcoin quantitative analyst, Plan B, recently said that Bitcoin looks similar now to how it did in 2016 late. As many remember, BTC rallied from around $800 at the start of 2017 to $20,000 by the end of the year. So, alright, that's a pretty interesting situation, a pretty interesting comparison. Even still, analysts are hopeful that growth is on the horizon for the flagship crypto. One top Bitcoin quantitative analyst, Plan B, recently noted that Bitcoin's price action in relation to its 200 weekly moving average, simple MA, looks similar to how it did in late 2016, early 2017. Quote, Bitcoin 200 WMA $7,500 monthly increase 5.5% looks like late 2016, early 2017. And as many remember, Bitcoin rallied from around $800 to 20, yada yada yada. Bitcoin looking structurally similar now may suggest that a similar or comparable spurt of growth is on the horizon. Another chart the analyst shared recently also shows that Bitcoin's RSI, which is the relative strength index, looks extremely similar to where it was at the start of the parabolic phase of the last cycle. Two things I must tell you guys here. First of all, this Plan B here, or 100 trillion US dollars on Twitter, is the guy who normally comes up with stock to flow models and just these generally very, very positive Bitcoin scenarios, which some said have panned out, have worked. Some say are pretty stupid and make no sense at all. It's just kind of speculation. Hey, everybody has their own opinion about things like this because it's really, really hard to prove exactly whether or not he's right or if he's just a little bit more lucky in that sense, since he always keeps adjusting them, of course, to the current market situation. However, I would also think that that's normal because the more info you get, the better you can make your predictions, right? So it's also not crazy. But what he expects was a huge BTC price at even the end of the year, and just again, that's where it should be on average, right? So let's say, for example, his chart were to look at BTC in 2021, right around this area. It doesn't mean that it actually has to hit there. It's about the average line, which should be there. However, in this case here, it doesn't really matter. This is mostly history, and he's showing us with some cycles. Chart of BTC's price action 2013 with a moving average analysis by crypto trader Plan B. Bitcoin is also at a similar point to 2017 from a cyclical perspective, namely in that the halving before last took place in mid-2016, and the last halving took place in mid-2020. The cyclicality, damn. Again, not a native English speaker, don't cuss at me for that one, of Bitcoin suggests that it will soon begin a similar rally. All right, and then we go into the stock to flow model, which is the infamous stock to flow model by Plan B. Core to Plan B's bullish sentiment is the stock to flow model, which basically suggests that Bitcoin's price action is related to its inverse inflation rate. The scarcer the BTC, the higher the price, and the model suggests his original model predicts that Bitcoin's market cap will hit $1 trillion or 55K per coin in 2021, which again is not even a strange feat anymore. I mean, if you told people this in March, people would have laughed in your face saying, we're not going to go from 3,000 to 55, but now since it's only kind of not even tripling in price, with the amount of institutional investment that is already flowing in, I'm not looking at you crazy whenever you say something like that. Especially when I consider that even for XRP, I'm way more bullish than this. I think $1 trillion for XRP is definitely possible. I'm definitely not going to look at you funny when you say that $1 trillion Bitcoin is going to be coming up. But let's see the quote here. People ask me where all the money needed for $1 trillion Bitcoin market value would come from. My answer is gold, silver, countries with negative interest rates like Europe, Japan, US, maybe soon, and countries with predatory governments like Venezuela, potentially China, I cannot say that one for sure, Iran, Turkey, etc. Also billionaires and millionaires hedging against quantitative easing, which is again kind of against all the money flowing into the economy and the devaluation of the dollar, and institutional investors discovering the best performing asset of the last 10 years, which is also kind of true. An updated model of his estimates, or wow, I can't, why is my English mode on, translator mode on, okay, everything is good now. An updated model of his estimates a $100,000 prize by the end of 2021, which is just 12 months away, which I don't know if I really agree with that one, because, well, pointing to a prize by the end of the year, like a lot of people do with XRP, is kind of stupid, because you don't really know what exactly goes on in that last month, because also a lot of people make strange choices when it's really at the end of the year. Since, for example, if you're a car salesman, you're going to want to sell a lot more cars because you're going to get that bonus, right? For example, with advertisements, they want to sprinkle it all in as well for the holiday season and stuff like that. But for investors, a lot of them may want to, make a lot of extra costs and stuff like that to reduce their taxes. And some other things on that end, we don't really know exactly what these guys will be doing in December, because maybe they just want to be a little bit more safe at the end of the year here. But maybe they also want to go for some crazy splurging. I personally think, though, because tax season is all kind of indicated by what the situation is on the 31st of December or the 1st of January, they might want to be smart about their money a little bit. And even though in crypto we haven't really seen that too much, and maybe in general in stocks you don't, it could be still that they are going to be doing something around that date. And it could also be that really the start of the next year. So for example, January 1st is when a lot of regulatory clarity comes in. So when you're saying end of the year, I always think about the 26th or so, just after Christmas, to the 31st for being end of the year. I personally sometimes also even consider till January 3rd, but real end of the year cannot be the start of the next year, because then it's not the end of the year anymore. It's the beginning of the next year. So if we really consider the 31st at the end, it could be that prices are actually a lot lower than the first, because maybe some new regulations are going to be coming in the first. On the contrary, it could be that prices are a lot higher because regulations are going to be coming the first as well when things all change up, right? But again, that just depends on how regulations are going to be looking and when exactly they come in. But in general, just end of the year price predictions are kind of stupid, because why specifically that day? It could be that we're just down 15% that day or those couple of days, and it doesn't really indicate the bigger movements, right? If you guys get me. Then I saw this one and I thought I should notify you guys about the situation here. Users' XRP holdings could be at risk as scammers attack Ledger wallet owners. Crypto community is discussing text messages from alleged Ledger wallet team that have been confirmed to be a phishing cryptocurrency scam. And even though I've talked to you guys at least a bit about the situation here, let's check it out. My precious XRP posted on Twitter, Ledger, I've received text messages about Ledger being deactivated. Is this official or scam? And I kind of want to pinpoint already, if you really think this is real, I don't know if you should be in the crypto space if you can't figure out what a phishing and what a real text is. This is really, really basic and dumb stuff, all right? Honestly, from me to you, if you can't figure out a phishing message, there's something wrong with your skills, all right? Work on your skill set and maybe do a freaking quiz on the internet figuring out which one is a phishing mail or text even and which one is real. Right? The only thing that I guess gives this some power is because maybe he only got into Ledger a couple of days ago. He bought one and he got a text or something, and he didn't know that there was a breach or something like that, right? Maybe he bought it a long time ago but wasn't involved, and he only now noticed there's a breach, and he thought, you know what? Phishing mails happen a lot, but phishing texts don't happen that often. Maybe just a newbie to the space. But I'm going to tell you guys all right now, make sure you check everything. Do not ever press a link in a text unless you know it's official for certain. Do not ever update your firmware, software, whatever, from within an email. Always go to the website yourself and then press something unless you are looking at something from within an app. Like if you're already using the Ledger Live and you can update from within the app, fine. But don't go to an email or a text message, and whenever they say we've deactivated or your assets are at risk or something like that, or you have to update, do not press the email or anything inside of that. Do not press the text message or anything inside of that. If you know what you're doing, you can press and do some fun stuff. But if you don't, just skip it altogether because you can just check stuff that's official on the official Ledger Twitter, or you could just browse their website to see whatever they've done. But these emails, well, I think they'll be coming up with a new way to make sure that we can figure out that they're official mails. I mean, one thing they could do is actually just implement a kind of a phrase that you put into your account settings that they can be using then. But I think since most people do not actually have a Ledger official account, it would be a little bit strange to do that because you might have to do that in Ledger Live then. But I mean, the Ledger Live you can also use even if your device is not connected to an email and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly how that would supposed to be work or how that would go into place. But that's something that some other platforms are doing, like exchanges, where you have to put in like a 6-figure code, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever, 0 then to make it 6. And whenever they send you an email, they'll put your specific code in there so you know it's real. The only problem is if those hackers just put accidentally, like they put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or put that in every mail or put a randomly generated code, it might first of all be that you don't look specifically to the code and they're like, oh, well, okay, they put my code, fine, or because you forgot. Second one is you could forget. And the third one is, what if by accident they put the right one in, right? What if by accident they sent the right code and this person now loses all their money because they thought it was a real thing, right? So that's also a kind of a problem that you should be thinking about, unless they have to change the code every single time. But then even it could be that they accidentally get the right one for somebody and still scam that person then. Hi there, this is a phishing scam and wasn't sent by Ledger. Please ignore it and remember never to share your 24-word recovery phrase with anyone. From our side, we're looking actively against these scams. More info here. And the thing is, even Ledger, logically speaking, they can't really do too much about it, right? I've thought about possible ways to block all of this, but it's very, very difficult. I mean, think about it. What could Ledger as a company do when they've had a breach of phone numbers and email addresses to stop it? Because these guys, of course, are putting a lot of time into mimicking Ledger exactly. That's their whole thing. The only thing Ledger can do is really go with new templates every time, but that's also not a safe option because, well, they change it once, the scammers will just use that template again and then make an email look like that. And if they keep switching over, then people don't know what to expect from a real Ledger email. And so I've also thought about it, and there's not a real good way to do it, except for potentially making a new email list with a new... even then, I guess these scammers have also gotten the Ledger emails because they'll just go into the email list themselves and then grab the new templates and they can just keep scamming. There's not really much they can do. There's honestly not much they can do to counter this whole, let me turn that off, to counter this whole situation. And all I can say is just watch out very carefully. Don't lose your XRP because of stuff like this. These guys have already gotten too much money. And even in the comment section right now, there's always people trying to scam others, all right? And I keep telling you guys, I'm never going to tell you to text a number. I'm never going to tell you that I know an analyst that will make sure your money is good, stuff like that. It's always going to be a scam. So don't reply to those. Don't check them out, nothing like that. And I hope you'll be fine. So a little bit later, we'll talk a little bit more about the Spark and stuff like that. But the thing is, guys, I'm personally not too worried about the whole MtGox situation. I personally think it's also the same type of situation like where people are saying, oh, options are expiring, so the prices must be falling, or options have been bought, again, maybe negative ones, and the prices must be going down. I guess I should have said should. The thing is, Grayscale, as long as they're still buying, which they are, I'm not really worried about the situation. All right, and you may say, well, Grayscale's buying is not actually a net increase to BTC because, well, there's people always buying the Grayscale on their platform so the price can go down. I don't see it that way. All right, I see it the way as Grayscale is hoarding Bitcoin to have it in their system, and then people can buy the trust. But it doesn't actually matter how many Bitcoins they have because, well, it's just because they want a good backing. Even if they had only one Bitcoin, the guys in Grayscale could have still been buying the trust that represents Bitcoin. If you look at the Ethereum and Litecoin trusts, one Litecoin within the trust is worth like $2,700 if you really were to look at the value that they're buying, but it doesn't really matter. And so from that perspective, these guys are just buying at high prices. They don't really care. Yeah, so why would we care, right? These guys are buying way more than I'll ever see in my entire lifetime in just one day. So from that perspective, as I've said before, I'm just bullish all the time, all right? I don't really care. Again, I'm not really worried about XRP, not really worried about Bitcoin. I think both of these will be at least $1 trillion pretty soon. And so I'm just excited here, chilling. Bullish pennants are being made all around. However, will we see a breakout? Nobody will really know the situation about that one. But I'm excited. I am excited.